Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. Yes, it is Thursday night. Who do I have in the remote studio? I have Mel Farr. How you doing tonight, Mel?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Scott?
I'm
How's
doing
it going,
great.
Rick?
What's that?
No, I said, how's it going, Rick and Scott?
Oh, it's going well. Going great.
So my dynamic duo, we're getting used to this format, aren't we? We had to break Curti in a little bit on Monday, but now this is the way we're doing it from this point forward. So, Rick Curti is calling this my slinky. I don't really know what to call it. All I know is it's a whole lot of fun getting to see you guys, because the one thing we don't have to worry about is talking over each other, which I don't think we did a bad job, but we can improve the brand anyways. Mel, I had a chance to talk to your old buddy Chris Roberts sitting out in L.A.
Oh, how's he doing?
He's doing all right, hanging out with the grandkids. Not a whole lot they can do over at SoCal. The sports broadcasters and all, everything's kind of like on hold out there, but he's doing all right playing with the grandkids. Thankfully, his place didn't get damaged by the fires a whole lot, so he's in pretty good spirits for the most part. I know everybody would like to be doing more out there, but then again, we're all in 2020. That doesn't mean good vision either. A lot of our vision is cloudy. So with that said, what isn't cloudy is what we're going to talk about tonight, but we're not leading off with the NFL. We're going to lead off with the XFL. How about that? Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson announced today that the XFL will restart in the spring of 2022. All right, Rick, you love to talk about the XFL. Do it.
Well, it's good reason I kept all my XFL gear. When I bought it all, everyone's like, so I guess you're going to have to get rid of it. It was a waste. I said, no, they're coming back. They're coming back, And then when I heard Vince McMahon filed for bankruptcy, and then they put it up at an auction, I'm like, well, they're going to get a new ownership. And I pretty much thought 2022 would be the year they get it. 2021 with COVID around, and it's just too short and a lot of uncertainty. Hate to wait another 2 years for it, but if you're going to do it right, you got to do it in 2022. I think The Rock is a great businessman, and I think it's going to be great. And we'll see we'll see in 2022 how it goes. So I'm excited.
Are you coming out of retirement, Mel, to play in the XFL in 2022?
Not at all.
Okay.
I can assure you of that. Not at all.
He's 48.
Rumors, right? You sure?
I am positive.
What if I can see if I can get a job out there doing play-by-play? I'll have you as my color commentator. That might be the closest thing I get, right?
I told, a couple of my friends are still in the league. Ken Norton's a defensive coordinator up there at Seattle, and then Eric Ball, he does some stuff in the front office for the Bengals. I said, I got one play left in me because of the COVID thing. I knew they might need to expand the rosters. So I got one play left in me, and it is an extra point. And not the new extra point, the regular extra point, because I wouldn't be able to run to cover the longer extra point now. But that's the only play I got left in me, and as a little wing guy, the little up back, that's the only play I have left in me is an extra point. That's it.
Well, on last night's edition of the Sports Exchange, I had Steve Ballesteri on the broadcast. We do the Wednesday edition. It's our football program. And by the way, Mel, if you want to come on a Wednesday night after 9 o'clock, you'll be able to sit down with Steve B and I and think about it. And he'll be able to talk about you and your dad and everything. So think about it. Is that something you might be game to do?
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Okay, well, I'll work on it. I'm not Don King, but I'll be close enough. I'll promote it big time after the fact. So with that said, okay, I think it's good to see that the potential possibility of the XFL under Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He has a proven track record. He really, really does. So if anybody can breathe a little bit of life into a league that he only paid $15 million for, why not give him a crack at it? And I think that you can never have enough good developmental football leagues to begin with. So, yes, we have to wait a little while, but for the most part, I believe the original XFL started in 2001, and Vince McMahon has found a way to blow it twice. But Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I feel very confident that he'll be able to get it going and be able to do the right thing with it for sure. So I wish him well. So, all right, the only COVID reference that we're going to make tonight, unfortunately, is one we have to. The Tennessee Titans and the Pittsburgh Steelers won't be playing in Week 4 after more positive tests by the Tennessee Titans. Well, I hate to get in the "I told you so" game because all three of us can say "I told you so." But you know what? Even though the NFL's had some good, strong COVID numbers, I don't think social distancing in the NFL go hand in hand, do they?
No, not at all. I mean, just the way the game is played itself, social distancing and NFL football don't mix. But I mean, they had to know this was going to happen eventually, and I'm sure they have some sort of contingency plans in place. Obviously. It's above my pay grade, so I'm not privy to what kind of information what kind of contingency plans they may have. But I'm sure they expected this to happen at some point in time, and I'm sure they're gonna act accordingly.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, no surprise here. I'm surprised it's not more teams going on. And boy, I hope that the Titans didn't go out and party. Nashville's a pretty cool party town, and I just hope that it wasn't them going out and partying. I just hope it's it's just unfortunate that it happened, but it's not a big surprise that a team or teams came down with COVID. I mean, University of Houston can't even get a game going because of what's going on there. So it's not a surprise, but it's kind of like, where are they going to go after this?
Well, the Minnesota Vikings, fortunately, did not have any positive tests, so they're back at it again. So hopefully this is nothing more than just a little temporary setback for the Titans. And yes, having been to Nashville many times, it's very easy to party out there. One of the best cities in the country. It really is. But, we'll see what happens with the Titans. The main thing is we just hope nobody gets seriously ill over this, because we all have been talking for the longest time. You got to take this virus seriously. If you don't, the consequences are very, very stiff. We'll move on to the NBA, and I don't talk a lot about the NBA, but this one just came in just shortly. The Philadelphia 76ers are signing Doc Rivers as their new head coach. I guess Doc Rivers didn't want to be the LA Lakers' little brother anymore out on the West Coast. So let's talk about Rivers' tenure, Mel, now with the Clippers. A success, or did he underachieve out there?
I think it was a success. That franchise has always been kind of just, like a little stepsister out there in Los Angeles. I mean, nobody's really ever taken them seriously. And until when Doc got there and they got Chris Paul there, obviously they drafted Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. They made that franchise, people started taking them seriously. Not me being a real Laker fan, but some folks started taking them seriously. And I think I think he brought some respect to that franchise without question. I mean, he was able to lure Kawhi Leonard, and also they were able to trade for Paul George. And that franchise had a legitimate chance to compete for the championship this year. I mean, they did everything they possibly could to be able to compete for a championship. Unfortunately, we had this COVID that probably, didn't help them with the chemistry, on top of the fact that they do their little load management and stuff and things of that nature. But I think Doc did a very respectable job there. I think he did a commendable job there, especially with that franchise and, the Clipper curse, so to speak. But he's done a fantastic job as far as making that, making that franchise respectable.
Rick?
I grew up in Los Angeles. I remember when the Clippers were god-awful. They were like the worst franchise. Poor Elgin Baylor, great coach. Great player, but a horrible general manager. Donald Sterling was a terrible owner. They were awful. So when you hear about the Clippers going to the playoffs, it was like, oh, my God. I remember Larry Brown going there and taking him to the playoffs. Doc Rivers was a very successful coach there. Like I said, I remember them when they were awful. They got a great owner now, and Steve Ballmer, who wants to spend money getting good players now. But, I agree with Mel. COVID didn't help. I thought they'd give him one more season. I would have given him one more season. I like Doc Rivers as a coach. I'm not surprised that he got a job right away. So I wish him the best. But to me, it was a big success because I remember when the Clippers were like 50, 60 losses every year. They'd always have the number one pick. I remember the whole Danny Ferry fiasco when he didn't want to play there and went to go play in Italy. So to me, it was a huge success. But I grew up seeing them when they were just like they were like the Cleveland Browns. They were awful. So they have come a long, long way. But the Lakers will always be the number one team out there, no matter what.
Yeah, no question about that. I know they're building a new stadium for the Clippers right next to the SoFi Stadium right next door. So that'll be a pretty nice complex from what people out in LA have told me. And I think Doc Rivers is an interesting fit in LA because when you have Joel Embiid and you have Ben Simmons out there, I think they're hoping that he may be the only one that can get those two to be cohesive and try to bring some continuity there. Because the last thing you want to do after all these years, draft these these players, and then you have to break up that core. So if they think that he's the answer to saving that core, then I think that's what they're banking on. I know that Mike D'Antoni was the guy they were considering, but I don't think that they expected Rivers to become available as quickly as he did. Now that begs the question about Tyronn Lue. My gut feeling is that Tyronn Lue will interview with New Orleans, but if I were the Clippers, I would keep it internal and bring on Tyronn Lue. After all, he did win a title for the Cleveland Cavaliers and did a pretty good job, and there is a good nucleus for Tyronn Lue. Time will tell what they actually do, but that's what I think. So, Mel, we're going to stay in your backyard for this one. The Atlanta Braves advanced to the NLDS after defeating the Cincinnati Reds 5-0 in Game 2. The big story is that the Reds failed to score a run over 22 innings in 2 games, the longest scoreless streak to start a postseason in MLB history, according to Sarah Langs of MLB.com. Cincinnati also became the first team to be held scoreless in a postseason in which a club played multiple games. They have Nick Castellanos, Joey Votto, Mike Moustakas, and the Braves, meanwhile, secured their first playoff series win since 2001 NLDS. Prior to that, they lost 10 consecutive series. Boy, I'll tell you what, I think the Cincinnati Reds were a huge disappointment. A lot of people had them, they spent some money during the off season. So let's talk about the Cincinnati Reds. Why so quickly when it looked so good early on? Although I got to tell you, even the Detroit Tigers won 3 out of 6 against the Reds, but that was early, and then the Reds started playing better ball as time went on. All right, Rick, go ahead.
I never really saw Cincinnati as a threat. Honestly, I think if there was a regular season, I don't even know if they would have made the playoffs. They just had bad luck. Just played a really good team. I never really saw them as a threat. Anything could go in a short season, but it's just unfortunate that they can't score runs. They just need to get a little bit better. But, I think the big first step is them making the playoffs. But I think I never really saw them as a big threat, sort of like the Twins. Good team, just not ready yet. But they just need to score. If you don't score, you're not going to win. So hopefully they can get that monkey off their back, just like the Braves got the winning a playoff series off their back. It's been a long, long time since they've won a playoff series. So congrats to the Braves on that. And with the Reds, just need some more work.
But to not even score any runs in a series is pretty hard to do. And they did that, not to score any runs. I'm talking about 0, okay?
Yeah,
I'm not talking about donuts. I'm talking about a goose egg, So, Mel, meanwhile, it happened in the town for which you live in, and the Atlanta Braves are a very strong franchise throughout the years. Everybody knows what they have won 20. They've been in the playoffs 20 times. I think they won 20 division titles, and with a World Series to show for it. But what are your thoughts about how this series ended? The Braves are going to continue playing baseball. They'll take on the winner of the Chicago Cubs Miami Marlins series. So you're a hometown guy, Mel.
Well, everybody here is pretty excited about it. They had a lot of people. They had some place where the fans could actually watch the ball game, not inside the park, but outside a little viewing area where they could watch the ball game. I can tell you what, they were packed in there pretty good. I don't know what, they might as well just went in the stadium because they were packed into that little viewing area pretty well. So the folks here are pretty excited about it. I know yesterday it took extra innings for them to win the game last night, for them to come out today and get the job done without having to go to a decisive third game. That makes it all the better. So I'm sure they're looking forward to the next opponent, and I'm sure the fans are looking forward to it as well.
Very well. All right. Well, tonight we have a really good, close game coming on. Okay. But what you have right now is you have the Denver Broncos against the New York Jets. There's a report that Adam Gase's job is not hanging in the balance on Thursday Night Football. Bear in mind, they started 1-7 last year, and they closed out the year 6-2. But I'll tell you one thing: this is not a good look for Thursday Night Football. That you have teams with a combined record of 0-6. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I understand the Broncos. Their starting quarterback Drew Lock is not playing, and they have a good nucleus. But the New York Jets, Adam Gase can't get along with Le'Veon Bell. You got Frank Gore back there. So, first of all, should Adam Gase's job be on the line, Mel?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of dysfunction going on right now with the New York Jets. I mean, he was there. He was supposed to be a quarter. The only reason why he got this job is because we got the Miami job because of what he supposedly did out there in Denver when Peyton Manning was there. So he's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer. Now, Ryan Tannehill remarkably has gotten better since he got away from Adam Gase. Now, so Adam Gase gets fired from the Dolphins job, gets hired here to whisper in Sam Darnold's ear. And Sam Darnold has gotten, he hasn't improved. Let's just say that. He hasn't improved, and you look at the kid up there in Buffalo, he's getting better. The kid Josh Allen is getting better. So and then on top of that, there's things they're talking about with the defense, what not being prepared or something. I think I heard some whispers about that. And the guy's, obviously he's real arrogant, and a lot of people don't seem to like him, and he's not getting the job done. I mean, at the bottom line is he's not getting the job done. Now, if he was doing all these things and they were winning, that'd be a different story. But he's not getting the job done. And his primary function, which is to help grow and improve this quarterback, he's not doing anything. This quarterback is not getting better. He's getting worse.
Right. Yeah, anytime you're regressing and you're a quarterback guru, that doesn't cut it. All right, Rick, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I've never liked Adam Gase. I just thought he's an overrated coach. He didn't do anything in Miami. He's awful as with the Jets head coach. Rumor has it that he's already lost the team. So it's not just Le'Veon Bell that don't listen to him. It's pretty much the whole team. Sam Darnold, never saw him as a franchise quarterback. He was so-so at USC. And unfortunately, USC quarterbacks just don't have a great track record as quarterbacks in the NFL, except for the only one I could think of is like Carson Palmer. So not a surprise. If he makes it this season, I'll be surprised, but he's definitely gone next at the end of the year. And it's just been a mess with the Jets, and not a really big surprise. I've never been sold on Adam Gase. I think he was also in Chicago too, and I think when he was there, that's when Cutler allegedly had his best season. And so, yeah, he's this quarterback whisperer, and he's just a complete joke, to be honest.
Okay, tell me how you really feel.
Yeah, I'm not going to join the Adam Gase fan club. I'll put it that way.
Okay. He told us how he really felt. All right, Mel, I had to eat a little humble pie on last night's edition of the Sports Exchange with Steve Ballister, and I'll tell you why. The Detroit Lions walk into Arizona and they beat the Arizona Cardinals. First of all, I know you're nodding your head, so I'll wait for you. Rick, Curti, what are your thoughts about what the Lions did to the Cardinals out in the desert, the Valley of the Sun?
Yeah, I was. I had to eat crow on that one too. Did not see it coming. I think the Arizona Cardinals shown that they are exactly what we thought they weren't, and they're not that. They're not ready yet. We thought, oh my God, they got Kyler Murray. They got a new acquisition. And they're not there yet. And they should have won this easily. Congrats to Matthew Stafford. Congrats to Patricia, you talk about another coach whose job is on the line this season. So they came in there, went on the road, and beat we thought a very good Arizona Cardinals team. Kind of showed the Cardinals are really not as good as we thought they were. Who said that? Dennis Green, I think he said. Yeah. I remember. So that's what I thought of right away when I saw that. So massive disappointment for the Cardinals. Congrats to the Lions on that. That was a very impressive win. And so Matt Patricia, I think, will coach another game so far. So we'll see what happens with the rest of with the Lions. Maybe that will turn their season around. Who knows? we'll see.
All right, Mel, you're nodding your head, so put the words where the body language is and try to make some sense out of what took place out in Glendale.
Well, being a Detroit guy, I wasn't shaking my head because I'm disappointed. I just didn't see it coming. I mean, if I had some money if I would put some money, place a bet on that, a wager on that game, I certainly wouldn't have placed it on the Lions coming out ahead on that game. But, you turn the ball over the way that Arizona turned the ball over, that makes it very difficult for you to win. Whether you're playing a good team or whether you're playing a bad team, or if you're a good team or a bad team, when you turn the ball over a lot, it makes it very difficult. You're putting yourself in a disadvantage. So, if they take care of the ball a little bit better, I'm sure, that's their first loss this year, I believe, Arizona. There's, still got a lot of football left. This early in the season for both clubs, and we'll see what happens down the road. But obviously it was a tough loss for Arizona, but a great win for Detroit, and I think a great win for Matt Patricia, obviously, because there were some rumblings that his job was on the line had they not won that football game. I mean, they broke an 11-game losing streak.
Right.
They hadn't won since I think it was October or
332 days without a win. Over 330 days without a win's a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then had that stat that they blew 4 double-digit leads. He had another record for all the wrong reasons. Okay. To go along with the many that they have, including the longest road losing streak, which I happened to see one time in Charlotte, North Carolina, over at, what is it, Erickson Stadium, Bank of America Stadium. You change that name all the time.
Yeah,
so I've
Bank
seen
of America.
that area too. So the Lions own a lot of records, but I know where you're coming from. I think over 332 days from what I understand. So they needed it in the worst way, 11-game losing streak. So let's go on to some games here, okay? Since we were talking about the Jets and the Broncos, why don't we have a few? We'll predict like 5 or 6 football games, and we'll start off with the Thursday night clunker. So, Rick, lead off. Who do you like tonight, the Jets or the Broncos?
Oh, God. I mean, it's like choosing between what I want to, do I want to be stabbed or do I want to drink poison? I'm going to go with the Broncos. I think the Jets are just a complete mess right now. The Broncos have like no quarterback right now. Both teams are a mess. I think the bigger mess is what's going on with Adam Gase. I think he's totally lost the team. I have the Broncos winning. It's going to be an ugly, low scoring, lots of fumbles, probably interceptions, but I'm going to go with the Broncos.
Want to give me a score? What do you think? Just best guess?
13-6.
Okay, that's fine. All right, Mel, you're next. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is going to be about as entertaining as those debates were the other day. That's how much I'm looking forward to this game just as much as I look forward to watching that debate the other day. It's painful. I mean, that was painful. This is going to be painful. But I was drafted by the Broncos, so I'm gonna go ahead and choose the Broncos to come out ahead. 6-3. Who knows?
Mel, I'll tell you, in all the years I've known you, I've never seen you really tell me how it is. You're a nice, soft-spoken, easygoing guy, and the only thing I've seen me from the debates, by the way, is a couple of broadcasts at night. So I'm with you, or I probably would have watched those things too. So, all right, we'll say 6-3. You say 17-6, and I'll just say 17-13 ugly game. I'm going to go Denver as well. So, with that said, I like that, Mel. Okay. Very, very good. I am really impressed. Okay, my running back scored a touchdown with that comment.
Every now and then I'm able to pull one,
Well, you did there.
Yeah, this is going to be an ugly game.
Big way. We're going to tag Mel Farr. I'm going to say Mel Farr will think that this game here is as entertaining or ugly as the debates and let everybody's imagination run amok. Okay, so there we go. You're on record that we'll bring on the debates. We're going to have some fun with it. So let's talk about some other games. We'll go back to the Detroit Lions now. New Orleans Saints take on the Detroit Lions over at Ford Field. So, is this an opportunity for the Lions to go 2-2 against a team like the Saints, which lost a tough one at home to the Green Bay Packers? Okay, Mel, let's see if you can top that last comment.
Well, obviously they're catching New Orleans at a bad time. I think New Orleans has a bad taste in their mouth right now from the way that they played the week before, and it's not going. I don't think it's going to be pretty up there for the Detroit Lions up there in Detroit. I don't see Detroit winning this game. I see New Orleans winning this game. I think Michael Thomas might be back. I think he's been practicing with the team. If that's been the missing ingredient, then maybe Drew Brees has got his mojo back, and because Michael Thomas is going to play and he's going to be ready to go. So I look for New Orleans to probably put up a lot of points and score a lot and score often. I'm probably 35 to 10.
Really, you think it's going to be that lopsided?
Yeah, I think both sides of the ball aren't happy. I don't think the defense is happy with their performance, and obviously I don't think that Drew Brees is happy with the performance that the offense put on display last week. So I think that both sides of the ball are looking to redeem themselves, and they're going to get out there and show them the type of football team that they are.
Okay. All right, Rick.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with Mel. I just don't. I have it like 42-17 Saints. I think we're like complimenting the Lions on the game. I just don't think the Cardinals are that good. You talk about another coach that's overrated, it's Cliff Kingsbury. How he got a head coaching job when he had a losing record at Texas Tech. But I guess when Pat Mahomes is your quarterback, it's easy to get a job. So it's going to be an ugly game for the Lions, and I see Drew Brees having a big game, especially with his weapon back. So I have a 42-17 Saints.
And yet, ironically, in Arizona, I thought the Cardinals were going to blow out the Lions with a 48-50 point spot, and look how that turned out.
Me too.
And I ate humble pie, as I mentioned to Steve Ballesteri. Now, before I give you my prediction on this, have you guys ever heard of Gus the Kicking Mule? You ever see that G-rated movie?
I've heard of it.
What about you?
I've heard of it.
Huh?
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, I used to watch it. It was great. Steve, I sent Steve Ballesteri to go ahead and do homework on Gus the Kicking Mule. We'll see what he comes up with next Wednesday's edition of the Sports Exchange. But I'll tell you one thing, Matt Prater, to me, kicks a lot of field goals, and he kind of reminds me of Tom Dempsey. He kicks them far, and he kicks them he's probably one of the best offensive threats. So believe it or not, I'm going to drink the Lions Kool-Aid this week. And I'm going to actually think that they're going to win this one 27-23. That Stafford, and I don't know why. Maybe I'm getting brainwashed here because of what I saw in Arizona. But Patricia and company knows that their job is on the line. And I thought if they had gone 0-4, a coaching change would have been in order. But for some crazy reason, I think the Lions are going to be competitive, and they might actually win this game. And I might be eating crow again and humble pie with you guys come next Thursday. But I don't know. I'll give one to the Lions this week so they can disappoint me and I look stupid again next week. I'll drink the Lions Kool-Aid. Who cares? Whatever. Okay. So with that said, okay, we'll stay here 25 minutes away from where we're located in southern Florida. Seattle Seahawks against the Miami Dolphins. I don't know if it's Tua time yet, but Ryan Fitzpatrick didn't look too bad up in Jacksonville. And we all know Russell Westbrook has some pretty good weapons, and who knows how much coffee he drinks up in Seattle. But how do you size up the Seattle-Miami contest? Mel, you go ahead. You're on a roll today, buddy.
Well, you're saying Russell Westbrook, you meant Russell Wilson. But,
Russell Westbrook. Wilson. All right.
I think he didn't play that well last week, even though they came out with a win, but he did not play that well. He wasn't very accurate. I don't know what was going on. I don't know. He wasn't very Russell Wilson-like. He had a very, his passes weren't spot on, so forth. So I look for him to have, to take a look at that film, and I think he's going to come back in a big way. And I think he's going to lead his team to victory over the Dolphins. The Dolphins have, they've looked good. They've been competitive. They've been in their games. I don't think it's to a time yet, although you look at what's going on around the league. You look at, the one guy, Justin Herbert, got thrown in the fire out there in San Diego right at the last minute, didn't know what was going on. Tyrod Taylor got an injection that accidentally punctured his lung. Right. Hey, kid, you're in, you're up. And so sometimes that's the best way to go about doing it when you don't expect it, just going in there because you really don't have to deal with those butterflies. So then you look at Joe Burrow, how he's playing. He's right. Taking a lot of licks up there in Cincinnati, but he's playing well, throwing the ball all around a lot. But again, like I said, because Tua is coming off an injury, I would really give him an opportunity to heal, to get at least a full 12-month calendar days away from that previous injury. So he's a year removed from that injury before I put him out there, because, you got to look at the long term. This is your long-term solution, and you want him to be there for the long term. So it's not going to, it's not going to make that much of a difference right now. The worst thing that could happen is he gets out there and he gets hurt again. He re-injures that hip or something that nature, or something else, because he can't protect himself. So I'd allow him to get a full calendar year removed from that injury before I even think about putting him in.
Well, I got to tell you what, I had the right initials, just the wrong name. I was Russell Westbrook. But I will say one thing I can say about that RW. At least we know that Russell Westbrook played at UCLA, your alma mater, so we can still tie that together.
That's right.
But
That's right.
Russell Wilson, nevertheless, is a guy. And the only thing that would get to on the field, God forbid, if Ryan Fitzpatrick were to get hurt, then you can see him out there. All right, Rick, go ahead. What's your take on this football game?
Yeah, I think Russell Wilson will have a big game. To me, he's my MVP of the season. Yeah, and he did struggle, but they did win, so that's what makes him, I think, a great quarterback. If it wasn't for Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, they would be like a 5-6 win team. Their defense is horrible, and so he's the guy that's really making him a playoff team. So to me, Russell Wilson's the MVP. He's going to have a big game. And yeah, I think if it wasn't for Tua's injury, they would have put him out there already. Because the Dolphins, they're not going anywhere. If they make the playoffs, I'd be like, wow, I don't see that coming. So, and Fitzpatrick or Fitzmagic, whatever they want to call him, he's a good quarterback, journeyman quarterback, bridge quarterback. So, long as he's out there and he's healthy and get Tua healed, I think Dolphins might be all right. But I see the Seahawks winning this pretty convincingly.
Yeah, and you know what, Mel, I back everything that you're saying, that give Tua as long as you can to heal. Although you're one injury away from ending up in the football game. And I don't think that this is the right team for Tua to be playing against the Seattle Seahawks. Although I forgot that the Seattle Seahawks didn't have Leon Lett. Otherwise, this guy's a DK Metcalf, but that gaff that he made, nonchalantly going into the end zone only to have the ball stacked away. So I'm wondering if I have that disease called dementia, DUMBMENTIA, by the way, which I just made it up, okay, and having a memory lapse tonight. But a DK Metcalf realized you're going to get the ball knocked out of your hand, at least do it in the end zone. Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, that was, that's embarrassing. It happens. I mean, he's not the only guy that something like that has happened to. But I'm sure he's not very happy that it happened to him. But that's embarrassing. I mean, Russell Wilson could have had 6 touchdown passes, I think it was, that game. It had not been for that little gaffe. So, but it just shows you, those kids from Alabama, they play all the way to the whistle. I mean, that was a kid from Alabama, and hey, he got beat. Yep, he was beaten, but hey, he saw an opportunity. And a heck of a play, heads-up play by that defensive back. Kind of a dumb play by the wide receiver, just starting to coast. I mean, you got to run all the way through that tape, run all the way through the goal line, and you got to play all the way through the whistle. And the defensive back from who was that? That was Dallas. He played all the way through the whistle. So heads-up play on his behalf.
All right, we'll go over 3 more games, and I do want to mention a couple of things that I think are worth mentioning. We'll talk about New England against Kansas City. We all know that Arrowhead's a tough place to play, albeit there's no fans there, but it's still a tough place to play. So, all right, so, Mel, why don't you lead off with this prediction, New England against Kansas City?
Yeah, that's a tough one. They got the Fighting Belichicks against the Mahomes boys. That's a tough one. Should be a good game. Entertaining, again, like we talked about last week with Baltimore and the Chiefs, although that game wasn't, probably didn't live up to the hype. Got away from Baltimore early, and it was very difficult for them to get back into the game. I think that this should be a little bit more entertaining game. I think that Bill Belichick will probably try to come up with something to contain Patrick Mahomes and all those weapons. I think offensively, New England can do more than what Baltimore is capable of doing. I think, obviously Cam is a much better thrower of the football than Lamar. So I think they will challenge that defense a little bit more than what they were challenged last week. But I still see Kansas City coming out on top in this game. I think they're, Patrick Mahomes is just playing unbelievably. They got so many weapons on offense. I mean, you got to be able to keep up with these guys. That's the problem. I mean, the defense may be bad, but, man, can you keep up with them? Can you score one more point than they can score? So I still see Kansas City winning this football game. I say it's probably going to be 35-23.
Yeah, double digits. Okay, go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, Kansas City to me is the best team in the league. You know, Pat Mahomes is the best quarterback. You know, Belichick. He's a great coach. He's going to the Hall of Fame. We all know that. But you know, it's Kansas City right now who's the best team. They're playing in Kansas City. They're pretty. They're terrific at home. The crowd is loud. Great support for them. So I have the Chiefs winning this. I don't think it'll be that close. I think they pretty much took care of Baltimore. Everyone thought that'd be a good game, and it was pretty one-sided. I think this game will be the same way. I have them winning like 35-21, something like that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I think Cam's not. I think he'll struggle. So I like Pat Mahomes. I like the Chiefs in this one.
Yeah, I like the 14-point differential. Even though there won't be any fans, it won't make any difference. The Chiefs play whether there's fans out there or not. Two more games I want to get to, and then there's one other issue that I want to address before we wrap up the broadcast. We'll talk about Buffalo against the Las Vegas Raiders. You mentioned it. Now, Josh Allen is awfully good. He really is. I think a lot of people wondered about his character coming out, but I'll tell you one thing. He's done a great job in Buffalo. And I think he's the best quarterback that they're going to have since Jim Kelly. That's how much I think of Josh Allen. So, Mel, let's talk about Buffalo going to Vegas.
Well, you say it's the best quarterback since Jim Kelly, so I just tells you that there hasn't been a lot of great quarterbacks in Buffalo in a long, long time, if that's the case. He's played well. He's improved. I think, the coach, they really do a good job of making sure that they put him in situations where he can succeed, and he's done extremely well. When he first got in the league, he wasn't very accurate. He's gotten much better as far as his accuracy is concerned. And they play very, very good defense. I think that Buffalo will probably win this game here too. I think they're right up there in the tops in that AFC North division. I think they'll or AFC East. I'm sorry.
Right, that's okay.
I think that they'll probably, they'll win this football game, and they'll, again, the Raiders, they're okay football team. They're not very good. They're not a very good football team. So yeah, I think the Buffalo wins this one, and they win it easy.
Rick?
McDermott's a great coach. Again, another coordinator for the Panthers. I wish the Panthers had him as their coach. He's no surprise, he's doing a great job. Allen's is an MVP candidate. I can't believe you think he's better than J.P. Lossman. He's pretty good. Kidding, but I'm going to go with an upset. I think that the Raiders moving to Las Vegas and getting a new stadium. Some reason, when you get these teams that are not as great as the Raiders, but you put them somewhere and you give them a brand new shiny toy and everything, and you got a new fan base and a new crowd, I think they're really excited to be there. I think they're no more of that Oakland fiasco. Are we going to be here next year? They're playing in the dump of a stadium. Now, to me, it's the best stadium in all the NFL. So I'm not really going to go there yet with Buffalo, even though they are playing very, very well. I think they're going to go into the desert, and I think the Raiders will squeak by and win this in a mild upset.
Okay, well, I'm going to give the Buffalo Bills a nod by about 10 points is what I'm going to do. I like the quarterback for Buffalo, Josh Allen, for sure. One more game I want to get to, and then there's one other point before we wrap it up. I never thought I'd be saying that these two teams would be 0-3, but I'm doing it anyways. Minnesota Vikings 0-3 against Houston 0-3. I could probably see Houston going 0-3 because they got rid of a lot of good players, including DeAndre Hopkins. Minnesota, another story. Both 0-3 games. Bill O'Brien, to me, I don't know what he's doing, but I don't think one man can go ahead and shop for the groceries and coach. And this could be a big disaster out in Houston. So, okay, Rick, I'll let you begin with this one.
Yeah, this is two of the biggest disappointing teams right now in the NFL. Bill O'Brien, I've defended this guy. He's a great coach, but what in the world are you doing trading Hopkins, one of the most exciting players, and that was just stupid. It makes absolutely no sense. So it should be really no surprise it's that bad. And I mean, Minnesota, that's a head scratcher there with Cousins.
Yeah.
They did so well. Zimmer's job is, he's on the hot seat right now. I think Bill O'Brien's gone next season with Adam Gase. I think those will be the first two to go. They're both disappointing, but I think Minnesota's right now the biggest disappointment right now. So I'm going to have them beat Houston. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it'll be an ugly game, but I have the Vikings beating Houston.
What about you, Mel?
Yeah, that's that's tough. I mean, I don't know how Bill O'Brien got all the power that he was able to, that he's wielding right now in Houston. I don't understand how they gave him all that power, but he surely has not used it very well. Now, I know they did get Laramie Tunsil over there to block for Deshaun Watson, but you paid that quarterback a whole lot of money. Now you got to protect him. That's a tough one. And obviously, with Minnesota, you got to think about the fact that they lost their offensive coordinator, and I don't know how many other people on their offensive staff they lost as well. I don't know what they're doing offensively now. I don't know if Gary Kubiak or whoever it was is still if he's the offensive coordinator or if he's still an offensive assistant or something like that. So I don't know what they're doing offensively right now. You got to understand that. So they did lose that person, and they're paying the quarterback a lot of money. So that means that you can't pay some other folks too. And so it's been very difficult for the Minnesota Vikings year in and year out. And starting out 0-3, I'm sure is not something that they anticipated they'd be in this position right now.
Well, they lost their key wide receiver, didn't they, over
they let a wide receiver go. He's at Buffalo? He's somewhere. He went somewhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, so
on my head, but I know it was Diggs was a wideout.
It just goes to show you how hard it is to win in that league. It's very difficult to win in that league. But, if I had to choose – I tell you, geez, Pete.
Mel's laboring through this broadcast. We're talking about the election, folks, so he's laboring a little bit over something.
I don't even know. I mean, the two teams are just struggling right now. But I guess I'll go with Houston just by a smidgen, just because of Deshaun Watson.
Right.
Gives them a better chance to win. That's the only reason.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give Houston the advantage too by 3 points. Oh, well, for sure. So, all right. One other thing I want to get to: the NFL is threatening to strip draft picks away from coaches if they don't use protective face mask protocols. I think that's the only thing you can do. Forget the fines; they don't work. They really don't.
Yeah, so, you start taking draft picks away from clubs, that's going to get folks' attention. So, money. I mean, they're finding $250,000. I mean, that's not. I mean, you got to go explain that to your wife. That's not an easy conversation to have. I don't think, honey. I got fined $250,000. We're going to be short $250,000 this week on this on my check because I didn't, wear my face mask. That's not an easy conversation for somebody to have with their spouse. I don't think. Right. So I mean, yeah. I mean, they like money too. Don't get me wrong. They don't want to lose any money. It's just real simple. I mean, hey, just put the mask on. I mean, these are grown people. You shouldn't even have to do all this.
Right.
I mean, they talk about players and things of that nature and the things you have to do for players. I mean, you're talking about coach. I mean, lead by example. We shouldn't even have this conversation. They should be able to say it one time, get their message across, and that's it. That's it. Let's move on. Let's talk about something else. Let's not talk about which coach is wearing their mask or which coach isn't wearing their mask. They don't like to wear their mask, get the face shield like Andy Reid. That seems to be working out real well. It's kind of like a motorcycle helmet. I mean, it looks good.
Right.
It works out well for them. So, I mean, everybody should just get one of those deals and we don't have any problems.
Oh, I agree. Candy's looking up the wide receiver for Buffalo. Who was it?
Stephon Diggs?
Stephon Diggs. There you go. Can't leave this broadcast without Stephon Diggs. So when Kirk Cousins loses his best target, Stephon Diggs, that's a recipe for disaster 0-3. So I'm going to –
That was his brother, right? That was his brother that did the little thing to Metcalf. Wasn't that his brother, Diggs? That was a Diggs, too, if I'm not mistaken, that played in Alabama. I think that was his brother, the DB.
I didn't follow that, but nobody was digging that moment. That was pretty embarrassing. Bad pun. Sorry, folks. I had no choice. Mel left me wide open for that one. So now getting back to that thing about the draft choice situation, though, you know what? Fines are all well and good, but when you start taking draft capital away from a team, that's when owners get angry and you start losing hidden gems. Then teams might pay close attention to that kind of thing for sure. But anyways, guys, had a pretty good broadcast tonight. I realize we have a nice Thursday night stinker, okay, but putting it mildly, okay. After all, this is a family show. I don't want to get nailed for explicit content to describe what is the New York Jets, okay, and the Denver Broncos, okay, in the who's who game of quarterbacks, okay. I do know that Jeff Driscoll was a backup for Matthew Stafford last year, although I don't think he's starting tonight, and look where that got the Lions, although the Lions don't need any other reasons to lose. So I might look like the biggest idiot of all of us if you guys, New Orleans routes them, and then I give the Lions a nod. Then what's going to happen? I don't know. Everybody's going to have to find out next Thursday whether I'm biting my tongue over this situation. So with that said, okay, as we close out the broadcast, Mel, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
On all the social media, you can catch me at Mel Farr Jr. That's LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Mel Farr Jr. My email address is melfarjr@gmail.com. And then our website is melfar.org, and that's where you can find out what we're doing for the youth in Atlanta and also up there in Detroit.
All right, Rick, go ahead.
You can contact me on my website at www.charlottebats.com. Our email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB, Charlotte Bats Baseball, also on Facebook. I'm on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. I'm also on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. And you can also find me on LinkedIn under Rick Curti, Curti.
And Rick does a wonderful job making sure that he helps us with our social media as well, making sure that all the stories that go up there get out to as many people as possible. We're eternally grateful there for the amount Rick does to help us out as well. In order to catch this broadcast on the audio side, you can go ahead and find us on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. I'll repeat that again. Okay. You'll be able to find us on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, as well as Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. In terms of following us, you can follow us on Twitter at Tribune South, Facebook and Instagram, South Florida Tribune Gets It Done. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune, and that's where you're going to find this broadcast visually. Website www.southfloridatribune.com. We have all of our content, our broadcasts on there, both from our media distribution partners as well as our columnists. And we also have a section in there for our Motor City people called the Motor City Monitor. Our email address is southfloridatribune@gmail.com, or you can connect with me, Scott Morgan Roth on LinkedIn. So on behalf of Russell Wilson, no, just kidding, Mel Farr Jr., Rick Curti, myself, Scott Morgan Roth, the Motor City Madmouth, we thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange, and we will catch you next week. Have a great weekend, and Rick, give them the old COVID speech.
Yeah, we're talking about the NFL coaches. If the draft picks don't work, they're gonna have to start suspending these guys. I mean, come on, guys, wear a mask. Every other country is recovering, like Canada and France, New Zealand. They have like low numbers, and here we have the highest. I think India is worse than the United States right now. That's abysmal. Be better than that. Wear a mask, social distance. It's the fining. The fining. That's a big fine right there. But apparently these guys, they're multi-millionaires. I guess they're okay with losing that much money. But if the draft picks don't work, they're going to have to start suspending these head coaches. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, see, Mel was playing the role of David Copperfield tonight, so he was going out there to disappear. But all of a sudden, abracadabra, alakazam, here comes Mel Farr giving us the final word of the night, right, Mel?
My internet went out. What can you know?
It doesn't matter. Everybody loves technology. Everybody loves us, and guess what? Everybody's going to get us next week. So once again, on behalf of, since Mel left and didn't hear this, on behalf of Russell Wilson, no, I mean Mel Farr Jr., this is Scott Morgan off the Motor City Madmouth. Rick Curti, thank you for joining us once again on this edition of the Sports Exchange. We'll go out there. We expect to do better next week, although really pleased that we are able to get you what we need to get out there. And no, there won't be any talk about the election next week, right, Mel?
Let's hope not.
Let's hope not. Hopefully I won't be eating crow over the Lions and the Saints. Otherwise, the Saints will be marching home, and I'll be biting my tongue. Then again, lately I do that anyway, so what's the difference? So good night, everybody, from all of us here at the Sports Exchange. Have a good night. Bye-bye.